Hello everyone, JW here, and welcome to a little newsy showcasey video for Update 1.13 and the Tropical Pack DLC, both arriving on the 4th of April. So we're just going to get stuck right in. Update 1.13 brings Animal Sociality, Null Paths, Multi-Axis Advanced Movement, climbable asset toggles, and range of fixes and quality of life improvements. I'll try and keep this short and sweet. Animal Sociality is a new animal behaviour system that essentially makes it more realistic for animals that live in groups. An example of this would be a pride of lions. Usually you would have a male, the alpha male, and then you would have a harem of females, and then the cubs, and that's that. But now you would be able to have, let's say, the alpha male, but if the alpha male and his brother are both there, then the alpha male will tolerate his brother because they'll have been bonded growing up, and as such, they will never fight. They'll be able to tolerate each other, and you can have both. You can have the alpha male and his brother and the harem of females. Similarly, introducing new animals into groups will also change the group dynamic. Perhaps that new animal will be made an outsider, perhaps they will rise to become the leader or the alpha, because they're both now. There are leaders and alphas. Who knows? It's just really interesting, realistic behaviour. But essentially, it's going to make managing animal populations within zoos in the game more interesting and more realistic. So, an example would be some species. Alpha males and alpha females can lead the group, but they don't always claim exclusive mating rights. So these leaders will be marked with a crown, which will replace the alpha symbol, so that whatever claim they have, it's clear who they are within the group, so that players can be aware of their reproductive roles. Similarly, overpopulation isn't going to be so much of an issue now due to group dynamics and social interactions and stuff like that, because outsiders that are rejected won't be able to partake in those behaviours. So you won't, go to the toilet or go for a snack and come back to discover that you've now got 50 peafowl chicks roaming around your zoo. Stuff like that. I don't think it's something people were asking for, but I am really glad that it's in the game. I like that there's this attention to realism and this attention to animal behaviour, because I love watching the animals in the game, and I think this is going to make that even more interesting and even more enjoyable of an experience. So yeah, we'll see how that plays out in the game. So next is null paths, something people were asking me for. I wanted null paths as well. We've got null paths. The only caveat is it only, from the way it's worded, it only applies to paths on terrain. It does not apply to elevated terrain. And the reason why I'm mentioning that is I've seen a lot of conversation around whether we'll be able to make custom bridges and custom walkways with this tool, the null path. I think the answer to that is no. It doesn't mention elevated paths anywhere in the forum post. It just says you ever wanted to have a hidden or completely natural path, or to style your own via decorative items. We know you have, and now you can. Introducing null paths. By disabling the curbs on ground path toggle on any natural path, it will create a null path, or an invisible path, that allows guests and zoo staff to walk across a seemingly unmarked terrain. These paths will function the same as any other path, meaning that terrain cannot be deformed around them, nor can facilities or similar be placed on them, but they will show an outline when selected for building purposes and can be customised beyond that to your heart's content. Similar to null barriers, any build mode will now have the settings drop down to highlight hidden paths. This can be toggled as necessary, but it's enabled by default. It doesn't mention elevated paths anywhere. Because of course, if you elevate a natural path, curbs are applied automatically, and you get a different path texture. So I don't think we're going to be able to do that. It's just going to be terrain, paths on the ground, essentially. Which is still a good thing, don't get me wrong. It'd be nice to be able to create some bridges, custom bridges. But there'll be other ways to do it, it's just a little bit trickier. Next, multi-axis advanced movement. Essentially, we're now no longer constricted to just up, down, left, right, backwards, forwards. We can now go up and left, down and right, back and down, up and forward at the same time. We no longer just have to stick to one plane. We can move across all 3 dimensions simultaneously. The way it's worded, I don't think it's something I would use. I think I would just stick to moving things one plane at a time, so move it up and then move it back, rather than moving it up and back at the same time. I like the specificness, the pedanticness of getting that precision of moving it up so it's the same height and then moving it back. I like that. I think to move it up and back at the same time, it might be easier. I may end up using it, but just from the way this is worded, it doesn't sound like something that I'm going to use. And I don't think it's something people are asking for either, but there it is. You don't really have a choice because it's an update. It's free and you have to update your game, so you've got it whether you like it or not. And then climbable asset toggles. Typically the only way around this would have been to disable animal escapes, but we can now toggle climbing functions. It only works for things that are climbable. So, for example, plaster walls, we can't make them climbable with this. They're just non-climbable, but logs and rope and stuff like that, we can now make that climbable or non-climbable. So we can have better custom barriers. For me, this is particularly useful because when I was building the coati habitat in Dunswell Zoo, the coatis could climb out, and I had to create like blocks to stop them from climbing, but also hide it so that the habitat didn't look like garbage. But now we can simply click on the items and turn it off. You can also do this through multi-select, so you can do large amounts of assets at the same time. So that's going to be really useful. It's also going to be useful, I'm going to test it out for my TT monkeys in Dunswell Zoo, so that they can only traverse laterally from the house to the island, and they can't climb down onto the ground and out into the rest of the habitat. I'll see how that works, but I like it. It's an interesting feature. And of course, fixes and quality of life improvements. I'd imagine we'll get some tweaks here and there, some bug fixes obviously, a couple of tweaks to textures maybe. I don't think we're going to get that Malayan tapir update that everyone's asking for. I just don't. As far as content goes for this update, it's free, so we can't grumble too much. There's a lot in here that is non-content based. So we usually get some free plants, we usually get a couple of free building pieces. It doesn't appear that there's any of that this time, which is unfortunate. And I know in previous updates we've also had a lot of staff functionality, particularly with the educators. They've been completely fleshed out. We've got guided tours, we had the educational talks, exhibit talks, there's just lots of that. Maybe when the full patch notes are released, we'll be able to see some new plants and some new building pieces and stuff like that. But for the time being, it doesn't look like they're there. I don't really have an opinion on the free updates because we don't have a choice. You have to update your game and it's free, so we can't really complain. But yeah, this one's definitely, I think, the most bland I'm going to go for. This is the most bland one that I think we've had so far. Anyway, moving on. The Tropical Pack. Totally Tropical. Also arriving on the 4th of April, give a warm welcome to the Tropical Pack. Adopt and care for 5 incredible new animals commonly found in tropical rainforests around the world, including Africa, Southeast Asia, and South America. Some of these species live high up in the canopy, others along fertile riverbanks, but all have evolved to flourish remarkably in jungle biomes. In addition, expand your dream zoo even further with 200 plus detailed new scenery pieces celebrating the beauty of traditional Indonesian architecture, and take on an exciting new campaign scenario set in lush green Indonesian locale. 5 new animals. Welcome the Fusa. You could also call it the Fossa if you want, but I believe Fusa is the official pronunciation. The La Gibbon, the Red River Hog, the Asian Water Monitor, and the Brown-Throated Sloth exhibit animal. Take a look through the lush green foliage and discover what makes these stunning tropical species so fascinating. Hear the loud calls from the La Gibbon ring out from across the zoo. Observe the Asian Water Monitor's deep swimming ability. See the Red River Hog happily rolling in the mud. Get a rare close-up glimpse at Madagascar's silent apex predator in the Fusa, and invite guests to marvel at the slow brown-throated sloth as they unhurriedly traverse their walk-through exhibit. So we'll pause there. So the 5 new animals then. The Fusa was on my list. It wasn't particularly high, but it was on my list. I think it was an animal that a lot of people wanted to see, just because it's such a unique animal, really. I've been lucky enough to see them in zoos. Hopefully I'll be seeing them again soon when I go to Chester Zoo. But yeah, they are remarkable animals, and I love their tails. Their tails are just gorgeous. So I'm happy we're getting the Fusa. The La Gibbon, I do like La Gibbon. I probably would have preferred a silvery gibbon, I think it is. I'm sure it's a silvery gibbon anyway. But we're getting a gibbon, and I think we should be happy with that. It is the silvery gibbon, yes. Also known as the Javan gibbon. But we're getting a gibbon. I'm sure there'll be a mod for the silvery gibbon at some point. But the La Gibbon looks great. And of course it's going to have that iconic call. I know people were complaining that we've got another one after the Siamang, but look how many bears we've got. Look how many big cats we've got. I don't see a problem. You know, it's fine. So we're getting the La Gibbon. You know, I would have preferred the silvery gibbon, but we're still getting a gibbon. That's the main thing. The Red River Hog. Slightly controversial opinion here. I couldn't care less about the Red River Hog. I get why it's there. It fits the theme, and lots of people have been asking for this over on the forums. It's an iconic zoo species. It's very common in zoos. It fits the tropical theme in. But I just find them really boring. I would have preferred the Visayan warty pig. I think that's a much better inclusion for the theming, given, you know, the Southeast Asian build theme. The Visayan warty pig, of course, critically endangered, and I just, with the game's ethos of education and conservation and stuff like that, I think the Visayan warty pig would have been a better inclusion. Who knows, perhaps we'll get a Visayan warty pig mod at some point. But yeah, I couldn't care less about the Red River Hog. Same goes for the Asian Water Monitor. on the one hand, it's really nice. It looks great in the trailer, and it's really nice that Frontier are keeping up with, you know, reptiles and fleshing out their animal roster. But I just, again, Asian water monitors, like the Nile monitors, I just find them really boring animals to play with in the game. Komodo dragon, same sort of story. It's just, I don't know, there's something about them that... I'm not really a reptile guy, but there's something about the Nile monitor. It's just sort of this throwaway animal, as I like to call it, in the game. And I think the Asian water monitor will fall into that category as well. It'll be this throwaway animal. The same, for example, goes for the red fox, the skunk, the raccoon from the Twilight Pack. Those are throwaway animals for me. They're just sort of there, and that's it. But yeah. And the brown-throated sloth. So there's a lot of discourse about this online, on social media, in the forums. People think it should have been a two-toed sloth because they're more popular in zoos, more common in zoos. But the brown-throated three-toed sloth is a more iconic sloth species. I don't care what species of sloth it is, quite frankly. My reservations sit with the fact that it's an exhibit animal. Now, on the one hand, from a technical standpoint, I understand why. You know, it's got slower, more specific animations. By limiting it to a walkthrough exhibit, you limit what the animal can interact with, so you can better create those animations and control how those animations play out. My issue is the walkthrough exhibit. I don't think it's big enough for anything at the moment. You know, the bats, I don't think it's big enough for the bats. Lots of people have said it's too big for the bats. Having been through some walkthrough bat exhibits, all of them are bigger than the one that we've got in the game. Butterfly houses, same story. And now we've got the sloth. I get why, and you know, you're probably only going to be able to have probably 2, maybe 3 sloths in there. But I just would have preferred it as a habitat animal. I think having that customization to really build a small-ish, primarily arboreal habitat using whatever building materials we want, I think that would work. That would work better. More people would probably take to the fact that we've got a brown-throated sloth as opposed to we've got the brown-throated sloth in a walkthrough exhibit. And I know there's going to be a day 1 mod for the two-toed sloth. I hope it goes the other way. I hope they're able to take the model and the rig from the walkthrough exhibit and make it into a habitat animal. I would prefer that, to be honest. But we're getting a sloth. That's the main thing. So, Fusa, yep, fine with that. La gibbon, we're getting a gibbon. Would have preferred silvery gibbon, but we're getting a gibbon. Brown-throated sloth, we're getting a sloth. Would have preferred it to be a habitat sloth rather than an exhibit sloth, but we're getting a sloth. Red river hog, couldn't care less, quite frankly. I think the Visayan water pig would have been a better inclusion. And the Asian water monitor, again, couldn't care less, really. It's not an animal I think I'll use. It looks great, don't get me wrong. Like, visually, Frontier have nailed it. But it's just not an animal I enjoy interacting with in the game. I can't think of an animal that would take its place whilst maintaining that sort of reptile but water theme, unless they included I forget the name of it now. The Asian painted terrapin, something like that. But yeah, I don't know. I like them, and they all look stunning. But I think a couple of the animals could have been different. I think that would have probably been more accepted by the community, especially by me. But that's my opinion on the animals. Moving on, we get over 200 scenery pieces, and I'm going to go out on a limb here. Previously, my favourite scenery pack was the South America pack, was my favourite scenery pack. Because that's the one I used the most. In terms of the pieces that I liked the most, I would have to say it was either be the conservation pack with the 3D printed walls and the cladding and stuff like that, or the North Africa pack, purely for the plaster set essentially, but particularly the piece of plaster wall with the circle hole in the middle. That is my favourite piece in the game, and I would love it if that piece was rolled out across all the other building sets. I don't think it is, but we will see what awaits us anyway. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say this one might be my new favourite. Expand your zoo with a huge range of stunning new scenery pieces that pay tribute to the architecture and traditions native to Southeast Asia. Build Balinese-style tiered temples that cast striking silhouettes against lush jungle foliage. Construct peaceful Tongkonan-inspired villages. And assemble detailed new multi-part animal statues, as well as beautiful assortment. No, that needs to be changed. It says, as well as beautiful assortment of props. I think it should say, as well as a beautiful assortment of props, such as tables, benches, parasols, drapery. There's also exotic new Southeast Asian plant life, including the Rafflesia, Attenborough's pitcher plant, and basket fern. Add all of these beautiful pieces and props to your existing zoo, or use them to build a fresh new tropical paradise from scratch. And then the new campaign scenario. Try your hand at an all-new campaign scenario set in a spectacular environment of Bali, Indonesia. Reunite with Tiffany, the rich socialite whose ambition outweighs her zookeeper skills. She was from the Grasslands pack, by the way. And lend a hand at the tropical zoo she's just been gifted by her dad. But watch out for a mysterious character from the past making a surprise appearance. It's Dominic Myers. Take up ownership of the zoo, adopt and manage a wonderful array of animals, and see if you can generate reviews as hot as the climate. The temperature may be sweltering, but cooler heads will prevail. And that's all we get in terms of descriptions for the tropical pack. I don't think there's any other details on the forum post, other than, of course, the price, which is £7.99, $9.99, and €9.99. You will have to have Planet Zoo to enjoy Planet Zoo, the tropical pack, because it is a DLC. And on the 4th of April, starting at 2 PM BST, which is British Standard Time, on both Twitch and YouTube, there'll be a special charity live stream to support Chester Zoo, which is my favourite zoo. Chester Zoo is a world-leading conservation zoo that's carrying out some vital species-saving work. As a not-for-profit, the zoo ploughs everything into its conservation work, both in the UK and right across the world. The zoo is doing amazing things, such as helping preserve Madagascar's rarest forest type. With Madagascar being where our new Fusa friends are from, we'll kick things off on the stream, blah 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 blah, and we'll be joined by some friends from both Frontier and our community. See you there. I've seen Fusa at Chester Zoo. That was my first encounter with Fusa, and if I remember, I'll put a picture up. I loved my experience. That is essentially everything, my friends. We do have some pictures from the tropical pack. So we've got 2 images of the La gibbon, nothing really shouting out there. We've got an image of this wonderful Balinese style temple. Lots of new pieces there. You can see some new plants as well. And null path by the looks of it from the free update. We of course also have Red River Hog. Again, new pieces in the background. I think a couple of bits of new foliage. Nothing much really. I mean, the Red River Hogs look like Red River Hogs, to be fair. So, and then today's picture, which is some more Balinese temples. Lots of new pieces here. Looks beautiful, and yeah, there's nothing else really jumping out foliage wise. Yeah, so I think we will end this little video here, my friends. So update 1.13, I think it's lacking a little bit in content, but it might be that they haven't revealed everything yet. So we'll wait until the patch notes come out. But nonetheless, what we are getting sounds good, at least. Tropical pack we'll be getting. It looks like it might be my favourite pack in terms of building pieces. We shall see, though. And animal roster could have been better, but at least we're getting some representation, which is what matters. You know, we're getting gibbons, we're getting sloths. People wanted the Red River Hog, not me, but people wanted the Red River Hog because it's common in zoos, and they've now got a Red River Hog. So hopefully further down the line, maybe the next DLC or the one after that, we'll get some more niche, some rarer animals like the Visayan water pig and the silvery gibbon, and who knows, maybe birds. Other than that, my friends, let me know what you think in the comments section below. I am currently running 2 polls on the channel. If you head over to my community tab, you will find a poll on what animal you are most looking forward to, and also a poll on how you would like me to show you the animals. Would you like one video that shows all the animals? Would you like a speed build of a habitat and a new animal per day for 5 days? So speed build of the Red River Hog habitat, speed build of the Largibbon habitat, speed build of Asian water monitor habitat. You get the idea. I forgot what the other options are now. A non-modded zoo that's tropical themed that will include the new animal, but not just those animals. I think there's another option, but I can't remember what it is. If you could go and vote on those before the 4th of April, I'd really appreciate that, my friends. Either way, thank you very much for watching. Please remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Really helps me out, helps the channel grow. Those can be really good things. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter now at JW_YT. And until the next time, my friends, stay safe, stay kind, and stay totally tropical. Bye-bye for now.